There are two important things for those who want to create wealth and avoid the idea that money isn't everything. Money is one thing, of course, but it can't be compared to anything else. It's measurable. You can count every penny. That's crucial. It's not like health. You can't measure health in the same way. You can go to the doctor, they can say you're fine, but then you can walk out and, bam, drop dead. Happens to a lot of people. So, you can't measure that. But money, yes, you can count every penny. You'll know if you're doing well. Money won't change who you are, it'll just amplify what's already there. If you're not a nice person, you'll probably become even worse. If you're already nice, you'll get even better, because money is like an amplifier. It's a tool that makes your good side shine even more. Every time we decide to donate money to Cincha's organization, we get really excited and keep increasing the support. The children were receiving education, clean water, healthy food, medical care, and were being educated with all the enthusiasm in school. That makes me feel good. I have a photo in the office that I often look at. It's of young children, with books, studying with school supplies. There are two things that are crucial if you really want to create wealth. One is knowing where you are, and the other is knowing where you're going. So, that's crucial. It's so simple. Look, it's a simple concept, but very important. It's so simple that you wonder why so many people remain stagnant, getting the same results year after year. I remember visiting my uncle's house. They've passed away, may they rest in peace, but I used to visit them occasionally. They had a house full of kids and were always struggling, trying to earn enough to survive. They didn't have a car and had to commute across all of Toronto, a big city, using public transport, working overtime every night just to get by, leading a very ordinary life. I remember visiting them at Christmas, and they were always rushing around, using the credit card at all the big stores to buy gifts for the kids. I told them, next year is going to be different. I looked at him and said, Dom, you're talking, but next year will be the same as this one because you guys don't change. He said, don't start with that stuff, I know what I'm doing. And I said, why don't you change? I knew I had changed. I had completely changed. He met me when I was at rock bottom. He got paid every 2 weeks and got used to living according to those paychecks. So, 3 times a year, he'd get 3 paychecks. And those extra paychecks were meant for seminars. I was giving seminars in downtown Toronto every Tuesday night for 8 weeks, 2 to 3 hours each night, for 8 weeks. I made them pay to attend the seminar, and believe me, they thanked me until the day they died for making them pay. I knew if they didn't pay, they wouldn't keep coming, but I also knew that money meant a lot to them and they wouldn't waste it. So, they came every night, and even more for 3 weeks. I didn't understand anything you were saying. You talked about spirit, vibes, those things. I didn't understand anything. Until one day you said, I want you to make a list of everything you want. And she said, I couldn't think of anything I wanted. I hadn't thought about it since I was a child. It was always what Dom wanted, what the kids wanted, never what I wanted. And she said, when I started writing, I couldn't stop. And in the end, they had their own business, became millionaires, had a beautiful house in Florida and another one in Toronto, and the family still manages the businesses. Everything in their life changed because they changed their way of thinking. People underestimate this thinking thing, but it's very important. Thought is the most powerful form of energy that exists. It's like cosmic waves that traverse time and space. Did you know that your thoughts are everywhere at once? Thought is everywhere. Thoughts are like cosmic waves that traverse all of space-time. I was fortunate to work with Captain Edgar Mitchell. He was the lunar module pilot on the Apollo mission. He was doing mind transfer exercises with Sherman and Ford here in the southern United States, on the other side of the moon. It's written in a magazine. He's an interesting guy. I saw him give a lecture in Toronto once. It's a funny story. The entire wall behind us was a huge screen with a photo of the moon, and he was walking back and forth in front of the moon, the man and the moon. He told the audience, coming back from the moon, I sat and looked out one of the windows and could see the earth spinning out there in the dark. And he said, I had a euphoric experience. I thank God for opening the gates of heaven and letting me in for just a few minutes. And the next speaker said, Captain, I had a similar experience. I too had a euphoric experience, and I thank God for opening the gates of hell and letting me out. We were going in different directions, weren't we? Dom Edmar's life was never the same again, nor were the children's lives. They were stagnant. The obvious answer to why people remain stagnant is to say that they don't have goals. I used to say that a lot, but I don't necessarily believe it anymore. Look, I have goals. They're written on this card. It's been 58 years, and everything I wrote on this card is still there. And what happens when you have a goal card and write your goal on the card? What you're doing is painting the picture of your goal in words. That's what Van Gogh said. I dream my paintings, and then I paint my dreams. You take an image of what you want and paint it with words. Now, when I have my goal card in my pocket, my sense of touch is affected. Energy rushes through the central nervous system, screaming, hey, a group of cells in my brain are activated. And an image of my goal appears on the screen of my mind when I touch the card. Simultaneously, the image appears. The only thing that happens when you give energy to the goal is that it grows. That's how you give energy to a goal. I don't think everyone has their particular goals. But maybe they do. Many people do. But I think everyone wants something. So, we can say that this constitutes a goal. They might not have a focus. They might spend more time thinking because they don't have the how they can or may not have, but they do have the goal. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is this. I think most people don't know where they are. We were talking yesterday with Peter about who am I. Let's forget who am I for a moment and think where am I. Dom was stagnant. He didn't know where he was. He was stuck in a factory, working hard just to survive. It never occurred to him that by changing his thinking, he would also change his whole world. It never occurred to him, yet it was said by every thinker throughout history. They disagree on practically everything except this point. They fully agree. And what's the problem that people are stagnant? Where are they? Because of paradigms. And most people have no idea what a paradigm is. They usually don't know. They don't even know that they don't know. Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know that I didn't know. I was just lost. I was an unhappy loser. And fortunately, someone woke up. Unfortunately, not everyone wakes up. I've been in prisons, and let me share with you now. I closed a business deal in Kingston Penitentiary, which is Canada's maximum security prison, which is now closed. Thank God it's closed. It was a troublesome place. But anyway, it was open for years. The deal I made was, I would go in, plus anyone who wanted to go to the meeting could go, anyone. They said, you can't do that. And I said, why not? And they said, some of these guys are bad people. And I said, no, they just think they're bad people. You think they're bad people, but there are no bad people, just people, and some are going the wrong way. And they said, you don't know what you're talking about, really. Some of these guys are bad, they're dangerous. There was a guy who had been confined to solitary confinement for 7.5 years. All day long, he'd be in solitary, in that small cell, and had 1 hour of outdoor time per day, alone, 1 hour, and that's it. Joe Garner, he was a bad guy. He shot another guy in an armed robbery in a town near Detroit and shot the other guy in the head, but fortunately, he didn't die. And now, if the victim had died, he would have been sentenced to hanging, as that penalty still exists. When he did that, he was sentenced to 27 years in prison and had been in solitary confinement for 7.5 years. And I said, anyone who wants to come needs to come.